Ladies and gentlemen,
Presenting
From Washington, D.C., Roland Martin, good morning.
Tom, so God, good morning. Got a first shout out to my man Cameron Champ, Texas A&M University. His grandfather, Mac. He won the Safeway Open on Sunday. His grandfather, African-American, stage 4 cancer. Just want to give a shout out to Cameron. His folks are listening, and the reason I'm doing so, of course, being from California, there in Sacramento. My next guest is a state senator from California, Steve Bradford. Tom, everybody's talking about this bill that the governor in California signed into law, allowing athletes to take advantage of their likeness and get paid for it. Well, my next guest, Steve Bradford, the state senator there, is the co-sponsor of that bill. And it has got people talking, Steve. Boy, you really ticked off the NCAA. And frankly, a lot of folks, especially a lot of white folks, who don't want to see athletes get paid. And the most basic thing is, why did you want this bill to be passed? What was the reason?
Well, as you know, Roland, it's been a long discussion regarding compensation and fairness in athletics for years. As we all know, the majority, over 50% of those athletes of the revenue-generating sports are people of color, but they make up, for the most part, like 3% of the undergraduate population, and many times they don't even graduate. So this is about fairness. We know many times in any other walk in life, you can control your name, likeness, and image. But if you play for the NCAA, you're treated like chattel, and you almost belong to the college system. The NCAA makes billions of dollars off of these young African-American men and women who, like you say, generate revenue, but they see not one dime. And they say, well, you're compensated through a scholarship. But we all know a scholarship doesn't cover all the needs and necessities in order to survive in college. So
it's interesting.
This is a civil rights issue of the day whose time has come.
It's interesting. I've got nieces and nephews who are in college right now, and if somebody wants to pay them $100 an hour to tutor young kids, they're on scholarship, no problem. I just mentioned Cameron Champ. Yet Cameron, when he was at Texas A&M, if he wanted to charge somebody $100 an hour for a golf lesson, because he was on the golf team, he couldn't do it.
So
and
true.
It's like, wait a minute, hold up. Both are in scholarship, both are at a university, but because he plays a sport, he can't make money off of his knowledge of golf. That's crazy.
Without a doubt. And let me, too, give a shout-out to Cameron Champ and his dad, good friends of mine in Sacramento. But that's true. If you're a swimmer, you couldn't give swimming lessons. You couldn't run a camp. If you're a baseball or football player, it makes absolutely no sense. But if you're on scholarship and you're a musician, you can give music lessons. If you're on scholarship and you're computer science, you can give computer science and programming lessons. But if you're an athlete, no, you're limited to that which you, just playing sports and not being able to benefit off your talents whatsoever.
But also likeness. I mean, I remember when Terrell Pryor was at Ohio State and got suspended for several games because he got paid for autographing. Terrell Pryor got suspended by the NCAA for autographing jerseys with his name on it, with his name.
Kids cannot even sign autographs, as you said. If they had, after a game, and people say, hey, I want your autograph, yeah, they would be fined by the NCAA for doing such. And it makes absolutely no sense. Like I say,
but if they sign jerseys and the athletic department turns around and sells those, that's cool.
They make
Exactly. Like I said, the university, the NCAA can make all the money in the world, but these athletes can't. And what's really obscene here is that some of the highest paid employees in the state and in the country are now college coaches. And much of their salary is derived on their ability to leverage contracts, to, again, get endorsement deals. They have access to private planes, as you well know, memberships at country clubs. But these same student athletes that they recruit, they're forbidden from jumping on that same plane or going to Riviera and playing golf with, a member unless invited. So it makes absolutely no sense. They can't enjoy the same fruits and benefits that many of these coaches are doing right now. And these coaches are benefited based on their ability to recruit these young, impressionable athletes, and many times people of color.
Where does this bill go from here?
It's
it's a
fine.
law now.
I know it's a law, but I mean, in terms of just the legality of it, are you done with it? Will the NCAA now fight you on this?
Without a doubt. But here's the thing: this bill does not go into effect until 2023, so
Right.
it gives us plenty of time to bring all parties to the table and sit down and discuss any of the issues of concern that's bringing angst to the NC2A and work out any of those differences. That's why we weren't trying to roll this bill out the first of next year in January 20. We said, okay, let's have 3 years to kind of hash this thing out. So we still have a lot of discussion to go as it relates to how we roll out SB 206.
But right now in Florida, there's a
states.
a state official there who said he wants this by law in 2020. And he's giving them, and he says 90 days.
Introduced a law as well yesterday.
Who?
And as you know, Cedric Richmond in Congress, he and Mark Walker, they introduced a similar bill in April after we had introduced ours. So this legislation has legs, and it's often said, so goes California, so goes the nation. So the NCAA should, change their ways and sit down and negotiate, because this is no longer a chattel system as the NCAA has treated these athletes for far too long. And I really want to hear from the voices of those athletes like Sherman Richards, who played in 4 years at the university, and they clearly say the NC2A needs to be reformed.
Senator, how exactly will this pay-for-play work? How will an athlete get paid, and how would that work? I don't understand.
It's simply an endorsement. Say you're the local star in your neighborhood, in your hometown, and the car dealership says, I love Roland Martin. He's been an outstanding athlete, but more importantly, an outstanding student. I would like to put his name, likeness, and image in my dealership. He can sign an endorsement deal. He can hire an attorney. He can hire an agent and be able to benefit off his name and likeness. This does not impact the university whatsoever. They're not financially responsible. It doesn't impact the revenues that the university does. It's totally based on what some business sees in that young athlete, be it he or she, that they might want to be associated with. So,
or if somebody wants a college star, Tom, to sign autographs at an autograph session, they can say, we'll charge $50 per autograph, and we're going to give you 75% of it. They can now do that because of the California bill. Previously, if you did that, the NCAA would suspend you and penalize you for that action, potentially up to an entire year.
Well, Sybil, Senator, and Roland, how much money do you think the Fab Five could have made?
Hell. Way more than Ed Martin gave Chris Webber. No, straight up. They would have made that much money.
They would have made a lot of money.
And what people are failing to realize, this is going to incentivize that athlete to stay in school and not leave early.
That's what
There you go.
LeBron
Oh, wow,
said.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.